Hey book fighters, it's Wednesday, it's Sarah, and I've just finished reading Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, and it is not this thick. This has 7 different C.S. Lewis books in it. And quick note, I don't care about this cover at all. It's just a picture of C.S. Lewis. I have no interest in it. The end. I honestly can't think of anything more to say about it. It's just, I don't care. So, if you know anything about C.S. Lewis, you may have been able to figure out from the title that this is one of his apologetics theology type books, not a fiction book. Which means it's really hard for me to review. And before I read it, I thought, oh, well, I'll just do what Dan did with the Book of Evolutions. I just sort of summarize what I learned and what stood out to me as interesting. Then I read the book and realized it's set up in a way that you really can't do that, which I really appreciate because it's set up in a logical progression from theism, then to agnosticism, then to theism of some variety, then monotheism, then personal God monotheism, and then Christianity. And that's in the first section of the book, and you really have to read that to get what he's saying in the rest of it, I think. And I can't begin to summarize it. It's, yeah. So I thought what I would do instead is share a quote from it that I really, really liked, because it came at a good time for me, because it was something that I had already been thinking about before I read this book, between experiencing it in a very positive way in some of the recent Moonfighters chats, and in a more negative way with some people that I know IRL. I'm gonna jump cut here. And this quote is from the beginning of chapter 1 of book 2. It's divided into a couple different books, and book 2 is What Christians Believe. The quote is, I've been asked to tell you what Christians believe, and I'm going to begin by telling you one thing that Christians do not need to believe. If you're a Christian, you do not have to believe that all the other religions are simply wrong all through. If you're an atheist, you do have to believe that the main point in all the religions of the whole world is simply one huge mistake. If you're a Christian, you are free to think that all those religions, even the queerest ones, contain at least some hint of the truth. So it's recently become abundantly clear to me, not that I wasn't aware of this before, but it was just sort of not in the forefront of my mind like it has been recently, that I learn a lot more about anything I have an opinion on talking to someone I disagree with, generally. And, I mean, this could be anything. It could be religious, which is what it's mostly been recently. It could be a political thing. It could be about comic books. It could be about whether you prefer the 4th Doctor or the 5th Doctor or the 10th Doctor, and hopefully not the 6th Doctor because everybody knows he sucks. But anyway, it could be anything. Anything that people have an opinion on that there are differing opinions on. You can learn more, I think, talking to people you disagree with than people you agree with, because it forces you to not only consider what you believe and why you believe it, but it also forces you to consider what they believe and that they may actually be right and that you may actually be wrong, at least on some things. And if you still feel that you are right, why do you still feel that you are right? And why do they feel that they are right? So it gets you a better appreciation of other people as well as the topic. So yeah, I wasn't planning on doing this until just now, but I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is, do you feel for you personally that when you're discussing some issue that there are differing opinions on, do you feel you get more out of it when you're talking to someone you disagree with, someone you agree with, or do you think it depends on a specific one, or is it about the same, or however you want to take that? Like I said, it could be anything. It could be religion, it could be politics, it could be Star Trek. It doesn't matter. Whatever. So, yeah. That's my question, and now that I've asked a question, I'm going to answer the questions that other people asked. Yeah. I can answer Katie's question right away. I don't have any siblings. That's done. So basically the rest of her question is kind of irrelevant to me. Lauren's question. I agree to a point. I should say right from the start, just so that where I'm coming from on this is clear, I've never dated anyone, I've never been in a romantic relationship before. But I have been in a lot of pretty close friendships that have been severely broken, and to the point that I don't speak to them anymore. And I've always felt, like I said, I could be wrong because I have nothing to compare it to, but I've always felt that any relationship you have, whatever the nature of that relationship is, be it a friendship, be it a romantic relationship, be it like your relationship with your mom or your grandmother or whatever, um, if it's a deep, meaningful relationship that is important to you, it will impact you in some way. And I think when that relationship is no longer in existence, when it gets broken, that impact that it made on you will still have happened. It will still exist. It won't like go back any waste of time. And then the breaking of the relationship can impact you then further. So I think that while you will still be a whole person, I do think you will be different than you were before. Now, degrees will vary depending on you, depending on the other person, depending on the nature of your relationship, depending on the strength, all these different things. That will vary how much, but I do think it will affect you and it will have an impact. And once you are changed, you can't really be unchanged. So you can go back to your previous position, but you will still have gone through that change. So that's my thoughts on that. Julia's question. Yeah, sorry I forgot about that one. Hunger Games. I have no idea what I would do. I really don't know. Like, I think it's one of those things that you couldn't know until you're in that situation. The closest thing I have to compare it to is Capture the Flag, which is just not the same thing at all. But Capture the Flag, I'm always running out and crossing the enemy lines, or I am staying back and I'm being sneaky and trying to sneak over the enemy lines. I'm usually more of the get around them and then sneak over and try and steal the flag. I'm always on the offensive. I like that more. I think it's because I'm a Gryffindor. Like, I'm a Gryffindor with very strong Slytherin tendencies. This is a self-analysis question. For me, anytime I have a self-analysis question, always comes back to Hogwarts House. Because that's me. But yeah, so I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I can say I really hope that I would not be one of the ones that enjoy killing people. Oh, I can also say that I would probably have grown up in District 12 because where I did grow up, from the way I was reading the descriptions of where District 12 is in the book, yeah, pretty much there. So, yeah, that's that. Oh, for next week, I will be reading Catcher in the Rye because I went to one of the apparently 3 high schools that didn't force you to read this. So I'm reading it now. Katie, I'll see you tomorrow. Hello, Room Fighters! I just did like the opposite of what Dan did in his school video. Okay, that was great.